Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan, and today we're going to be previewing and predicting the Stanley Cup final between the Montreal Canadiens and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now the Tampa Bay Lightning officially beat the New York Islanders, which means we have a Habs and Bolt Stanley Cup final on our hands. The David and the Montreal Canadiens versus the Goliath in the Tampa Bay Lightning. But how do I see this series shaping out? How do I preview this going into this, and how do each teams look? And the most important part, who do I predict to win the 2021 Stanley Cup? The Montreal Canadiens or the Tampa Bay Lightning? Watch till the end for all the predictions and all the previewing, and hit that subscribe button if you're new. 60% of the people watching the videos are not subscribed, so if you're a Habs fan, Bulls fan, whoever you're cheering for, you're welcome to the Grav Gang, and we would love to have you. Now, heading into the Final Four for the conference finals in the NHL playoffs, the final two that I wanted to see, the Stanley Cup final matchup that I wanted to see happen was the Montreal Canadiens versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, the David versus the Goliath story. This scrappy Montreal team that's been bullying their way for the playoffs, but at an underdog level, still being discounted at every single area and still finding ways to win. On the other side, the Tampa Bay Lightning are looking for their second straight Stanley Cup and are looking to be a dominant, almost dynasty-like team. It kind of reminds me of the 2017 NHL Stanley Cup Finals, where we saw Nashville, this underdog team that nobody really saw being Chicago in the first round, and then they swept them and went to the Stanley Cup Final, versus the Pittsburgh Penguins, who were looking for their second straight Stanley Cup. It is almost too perfect, but I think this series could go a lot of different ways, and the underdog, I think, in this series has a really good shot of potentially winning. I think the Montreal Canadiens have been discounted every single time, and I think if you had a Habs versus Islanders series, it would still be interesting, and I think Montreal would still probably win that. But I think Montreal is best, and they've shown they've been the best when they are the underdogs, when they've been discounted, when they've been thrown away in the conversation for the Stanley Cup winner. They time and time again find ways to win and be the underdog winner. And Tampa Bay is exactly the opponent that could do and be in that similar situation where Tampa's wanting to get that second Stanley Cup. Now Montreal can be the underdog officially, instead of kind of being in the middle area where they might be the favorite, they might not be. The Tampa Bay Lightning are the favorite in this year's Stanley Cup final, and why wouldn't they be? They won the Stanley Cup last year. They're looking great defensively, especially after a rough defensive regular season, and Montreal will have their work cut out for them. But they've had their work cut out for them every single series and have found ways to win every single series. I think anybody discounting Montreal Canadiens is going to be looking pretty bad by the end of this series, I think. But that doesn't mean that the Montreal Canadiens will win this series. As a matter of fact, I think Tampa has a really good shot of winning it as well. And I think these two teams kind of counteract each other in terms of play style very fluidly. I think this Stanley Cup final will be amazing. Absolutely brilliant. But before we get into the predictions, I want to look at the team makeup of both teams here for the forwards, the defense, the goaltending, because there's a lot of ways to look at it. And I think starting with just the forward group in general, Tampa has more stars. They absolutely do. I mean, Stamkos will be the best player on the Habs forward group. Kucherov will be the best player by far. Point will be the best player by far. That we know. But Montreal still has their fair share of great players. Suzuki has come up great. Caufield has come up great. That first line, I mean, Suzuki, Caufield, and Toffoli is just absolutely amazing. But they can beat you in waves, and Montreal has done that before, especially recently versus the Vegas Golden Knights. So even though in terms of the forward group, and maybe in terms of the depth for Montreal's forward group, I might prefer, Tampa still has so much going for them in terms of that star power that there is a chance that Tampa just overpowers Montreal by the end of the series. But going on to defense, there is kind of a little bit of a gray area in terms of which one is definitively better, because on paper, Tampa's is better, but Montreal's defense has been stellar throughout the playoffs, and they limited guys like Mark Stone to 0 points in the conference finals. That does not happen often, and even Dallas could not do that the year before, and they slammed that Vegas top six. So Montreal, I think in terms of defense, in terms of structure, has a lot going for them. Their forwards definitely influence that defensive play a lot too. And then you get into the goaltending, which is also a toss-up. Now, I think, again, I'm going to give the defensive edge to Tampa on paper, but Montreal is a team that can find ways to win and can grind you down when they need to. And on the goaltending side of things, again, Vasilevskiy and Carey Price. Some people might say this is the top two best goaltenders in the league fighting for it. I would say Hellebuck will probably still be my number two, but Vasilevskiy, Hellebuck, Price would be be my top 3 right now, and if Carey Price is just so spectacular playoffs, same thing with Andrei Vasilevskiy, you could have the battle of the goaltenders in this series, even more so than Price and Fleury even was in the conference finals, and even that wasn't a crazy one since Fleury was not the starter in 2 of those games. But this will be an absolute goaltending duel. Do not get anybody wrong. Carey Price has been dominant. Andrei Vasilevskiy has been dominant. Somebody's got to break and somebody's got to fold. And honestly, predicting who's going to fold, predicting who's going to do worse in this series out of these 2 is kind of just setting me up for disaster, because both of these guys, win or lose, I think will be amazing in these games. But with all that aside, the offense, defense, goaltending, whatever it is, all of that away from us now, comparing the 2, on paper, the Tampa Bay Lightning should win this series. But again, the Vegas Golden Knights should have won that series versus the Montreal Canadiens. The Toronto Maple Leafs should have won that series against the Montreal Canadiens. What should have happened is not what's happening in this year's playoffs for the Montreal Canadiens. I think that's what makes this series so hard to pinpoint, because if there's any team that should win and will win against Montreal, it will be the Tampa Bay Lightning. But in some ways, I do think Montreal has a really good shot at winning this series. And in terms of my predictions, I think this will go 7 games. I'm predicting a series to go the full distance, all the way to 7 games for the first time since 2019, and to be an absolute brawl. I'm going to say home ice is going to be huge in this series. A lot of the home games will go to the home team, and I think it'll be an absolute brawl right to the very end. 7-game series, Tampa Bay and Montreal getting the NHL a good old paycheck there in the TV revenue. But I think it'll be an amazing one, and it'll be an absolute classic. Again, that David versus Goliath story where you have Montreal and Tampa battling it out, the underdog versus the overdog, let's say. And I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be absolutely great. But postponing the prediction long enough, I might as well get into it. When I look at Montreal and Tampa, one of the big things I look at is the offensive attack for both teams. And looking at Montreal, a lot of their goals come up with the odd man rush, with the surprise speed attacking game. Tampa's a little bit more restrictive, they're a little bit more conservative, and they score in bunches. They score in community efforts, kind of like the Islanders, just a little bit there. And I think for Montreal, they would have won against the New York Islanders for sure, I think. But they would have had a little bit of trouble, I think, scoring goals consistently. Mostly because the New York Islanders are great in terms of limiting those odd-man rushes and limiting those opportunities that give the opposing goal. They're give the Islanders goaltender so much trouble. But I think versus Tampa, it's a little bit of a different defensive structure. They kind of box you out. They close you out a little bit more. They give you a little bit more leeway to enter the zone, but they just give it. They give it up and they take it away almost instantly. I think Montreal will definitely have to worry about that. Victor Hedman's been playing great. The big size guys on Tampa have been really coming up huge, and I think that size could be a factor in this upcoming series. But Montreal was able to beat guys like Petrangelo eventually, able to beat guys like Shea eventually, so I don't have a huge problem with that. But Montreal, I think, will have some trouble scoring goals in this series. I think that's what will happen, but I do think still with that rush attack that Montreal has, they'll be able to score quite a few goals and somehow get past Andrei Vasilevskiy. And honestly, I don't see many goals being scored in this series, period. With Carey Price, with Andrei Vasilevskiy, I mean, we can talk about the defensive structures here, but the goaltending will reign supreme in this series, and I think will make or break what we see in this Stanley Cup final. But considering Carey Price, considering his age, considering his situation, he is playing some of the best hockey he's ever played, and he's looking at the situation right now, this team in Montreal, as maybe his last true shot at a Stanley Cup. I think that's how he's thinking right now, or at least somewhat thinking that this could be it. And I think he will go as hard as humanly possible. I think he will outduel Andrei Vasilevskiy. And in that 7th game, somehow, someway, the David will defeat the Goliath, and the Montreal Canadiens will win in 7 games. An absolute classic of a Stanley Cup final, and the Habs robbed the Lightning from going back-to-back for their first Cup win since 1993. That's how I see it going down. I see it being an amazing series, a great one. Tampa playing great, Montreal playing great, but in the end, the goaltending and Carey Price just being so prolific, the defense staying strong and staying structured, and the offense coming up with huge goals like they always have. This is a great situation for Montreal to be the clear underdog once again, because this is where they thrive the most. I think they'll come through big. They'll be behind 3-2 in the series, but win game 6 and then win game 7 in just a crazy fashion in Tampa, in front of those Bolts fans. Montreal will get it done. That's how I think it'll happen, and those are my predictions for the 2021 Stanley Cup Final. Also, of course, the Conn Smythe going to Carey Price, and the series MVP besides him, the series MVP, Brendan Gallagher, will wake up huge and get 5 goals in the series. An absolute stud, and it's about time he got off that snide. The Montreal Canadiens, I see, will win the 2021 Stanley Cup and get it done in front of all of those Habs fans in Montreal, though it won't be in Montreal, it'll be in Tampa. For the fans outside of that stadium, and in the stadium, it will happen. The Canadiens will win the Stanley Cup. That'll be pretty much it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell to get notified on all the new videos and new live streams coming out. If you haven't already, let me know in the comments down below. What do you predict for this series? Who do you see winning this series? And in how many games do you see the Habs winning the Cup, the Bolts winning the Cup? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. Make sure you share this video with your friends. Get it out there to all the Habs fans, Bolts fans, NHL fans you know, and click on this card for all of my playoff talk right on one playlist. Thank you so much for the support, boys. Hopefully we'll see a great series. I know we will. And I'll be slightly cheering for the Montreal Canadiens. I love both teams, but go Habs, go. See you for the game streams, and goodbye.